I like to be in the forest. Unfortunately, it's on my way to go to work. And sometimes I climb half an hour, sometimes 2 hours with my dogs, and I like to appreciate the sunset or sunrise. This forest is just fantastic. I especially became addicted to the forest because of the sandstone. Yes, because this rock has something special about, it's soft, there is a friction, it's the shape, and if I would dare, it's a kind of a sensuality when you climb. It's different from the other rock, definitely.
Je grimpe à Fontainebleau depuis un certain temps maintenant, je pense au moins 10 ans. Et ça a toujours été un lieu mythique de l'escalade pour moi. C'était nos coachs qui nous en parlaient. Toutes les grandes figures de l'escalade y sont passées et ont ouvert des blocs. Puis c'est tellement immense, c'est inépuisable comme source de blocs et de possibilités d'ouverture. Puis le caillou, il est juste exceptionnel. Ce grès aussi compact, c'est dingue.
I decided to move to Fontainebleau a couple of years ago because I fell in love with the forest the first time I came here for a holiday. People come from all over the world and they come here especially because it's the mecca of the sport, because it's probably the biggest area in the world, the biggest concentration of boulders in the world, and the outcome is that it's sort of melting pot for climbers.
I would say that the history of the forest starts at the end of the 19th century. Some people for the cities realized that there were some rock here and they could maybe train for the mountain alpinism. So it's very, very old, yeah, very old. We are super lucky because it's very big. It's 30 kilometers long, 40 kilometers large.
There are tens of thousands of boulder problems in the forest.
Maybe more than 60 different areas. In the early 50s, some guys decided to paint some circuits just to indicate where is it possible to climb. You know that in the certain color you have certain grade. You know that for blue you have this level, for red you have this level.
Climbing in Fontainebleau is accessible to everybody, I would say, and it's the best school of climbing that you can find. So if you start climbing here, then kind of wherever you go, you will have a solid foundation. It's got such a variety of movement.
En cherchant bien, on trouve vraiment de tout.
You can find a different friction, different type of holds. In some climbs you have slopers, in other areas you have crimps, in other you have not jugs but kind of pinch. So that's why it's so unique. And you can choose whatever you want according to what you expect. Some areas are very good for family, some others are better for very high level.
C'est très exigeant en technique parce que justement c'est pas juste tirer, pousser sur des prises et il faut trouver des calages et c'est une grimpe qui est très à apprentissage et on trouve toujours des petits calages pour ajuster.
You need to care about skills and to understand what skills are required. I think it's the most important thing. You can be the strongest climber, I mean about the physical power, and maybe you won't be able to do a cool slab in 6 days. You have to learn how it works. It's very sensitive kind of a climb, I would say.
Puis il y a ce côté aussi où tu te fais remettre à ta place par des blocs qui sont pas cotés très très durs, mais qui demandent une exigence de ouf. Et donc là, il faut aller puiser dans ses ressources techniques pour pouvoir enchaîner le bloc. Et ça, c'est cool. J'aime beaucoup cet aspect-là aussi. Même si on n'est pas forcément dans la performance, on peut s'amuser dans des blocs plus faciles et il y a des blocs plus faciles vraiment exceptionnels et qui ont des gestuels ou des prises trop belles qui donnent envie de grimper. Donc il n'y a pas que l'aspect performance et projet max, il y a vraiment ce côté profiter de l'escalade.
A lot of people say that the best conditions that you can find in Fontainebleau are in winter, because that's when you can really push yourself for the best performance, because that's where the rock is sticky. So in winter you might be able to push your physical capabilities if you can deal with the cold well. Like myself, I can't. I prefer it to be slightly warmer. So for me, for like trying really hard, I would say autumn or spring. But even in the summer, like now, it's so nice to climb barefoot, to just have fun and not think about the performance, but think about the enjoyment.
De toute façon, il y a toujours moyen de faire des trucs sympas et de s'amuser, créer des variantes, s'imposer des moves comme si on était en salle en fait. On peut faire la même chose à Fontainebleau et se créer des petits jeux à l'ombre, dans des toits, même s'il y a un gros soleil qui tape, il y a toujours moyen de trouver des trucs cool à faire.
C'est une belle chorégraphie, j'applaudis.
What do you call this? You have to like give it a name and a grade and...
It's actually not that easy to get around the forest, especially without a car. It's possible to access quite a few crags from the train stations in Fontainebleau and in other towns, but practically it's really good to have a car to experience all that the forest has to offer, because there are separate areas, and if you want to be able to move between them, it's a 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes half an hour drive from one to another. And then once you get to a car park, you can stay a whole day or a whole year and not finish climbing everything that's accessible from one car park. Climbing in the forest kind of entails being respectful of the rock and the environment here, so I think it's very important that people know to leave the place as they found it, if not better. So, you know, don't leave your trash behind. If you see some other people's trash, pick it up. If there is chalk on the rock, brush it, because it really doesn't look pretty. Nobody wants to see a dirty rock or tick marks or, you know, roadside toilet in the forest. So I think, yeah, being responsible and kind of treating the forest as you would treat your home. Be nice to it and it will be nice to you.
Après la pluie, donc quand le rocher est humide, en fait, il est fragile et il peut se casser. Et il y a des blocs où des prises ont été cassées à cause de cette humidité et c'est irréparable. Voilà, c'est fini, on ne pourra plus les faire, donc c'est dommage. Et c'est sûr que ça peut être très frustrant quand on vient de super loin d'arriver et on ne peut pas grimper. Mais c'est important de ne pas tout casser parce qu'on ne pourra plus les refaire, quoi, ces blocs-là.
When I started to climb, it was in the beginning of the 80s. We have some boulders. I think the maximum level was 7B at this time, only a few guys. It was the development of sport climbing, thanks to Patrick Edlinger, for example. And we were really willing to push the difficulty. Each of us tried to push the boundaries in our best skills. For some it was the slab, and some started to develop hard slabs. For other one it was the overhang or dynamic moves. And step by step we pushed the boundaries. It's not finished yet, so we have always something new to try. And in certain part of the forest, nobody knows if there is rock or not. It's the reality. I'm still convinced that it's possible to find new boulders, and I still also know that there are a list of boulders not done at the moment who could be projects for the future. I'm sure it's possible and it will be done, for sure, no doubt.